everybody. I'm Spencer Aronfeld, and welcome to the Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer podcast. With me today, as always, is my co-host, Nory. Hey, Nory.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
We have a super anticipated guest today. This is one that we've gotten a lot of emails and texts about. You know the expression that familiarity breeds contempt?
Not really.
Well, what that basically means is that due to this pandemic, a lot of couples and partners and fathers and sons are spending a lot of time with each other. And as a result of that familiarity, there becomes or surfaces dislikes. And so I think a lot of people are interested in finding out how they can end their marriages, maybe more so now than ever. So tell everyone who our guest is.
Well, because of that, today we have Manny Segara, who's going to talk with us about family law and more specifically, how you can go about getting a divorce during the pandemic.
There he is. Well, welcome to the podcast, Manny.
Thank you, guys. So good to see you. I'm glad to see that you're both doing well and safe. Thank you for having me on this program. I am so excited to see you. I'm so excited to see Nory. I'm so impressed with everything that you've been doing. So thanks, guys. Look forward to talking some shop with you guys.
Thank you so much, my friend. So, we've gotten some calls and emails wanting to know, how can I get divorced during the pandemic? Have you handled any divorces during this time?
Well, business keeps churning. As you can probably imagine, the divorce rate is up. So is the rate of domestic violence. These are things that are happening because it seems like couples are both struggling financially and struggling with the new reality of having to juggle multiple things, including work, their families, trying to get food on the table. So unfortunately, these issues keep occurring, and family court is open. So we're filing cases, we're having court hearings, we're getting people divorced. All of that is happening, obviously, with the Zoom platform, as you're using today.
So you've done Zoom divorces?
Yes, I've had 3 hearings this week. I had 2 yesterday, and I have and I have a trial on Monday, an alimony case. So it's very interesting that the family courts have done an excellent job of adapting, and they're still moving forward.
So if people are watching this and they're considering getting a divorce, this pandemic it doesn't sound like it's much of an obstacle.
Well, it is not. Our first concern is, number one, that the couples are safe. So if there's an issue regarding domestic violence, we obviously want everyone to know that there's resources out there, there's hotlines. But assuming that everyone is safe, keep in mind that the divorce process often happens online, so they don't even have to come to the office. Our office is providing for video consultations. We're providing for telephonic consultations. And everything that's filed in family court is filed online. So you don't even have to step out of the office.
Wow. So if people are watching this and are seriously considering getting a divorce, how do they get in touch with you?
So we have a great referral network of attorneys, like yourself included. So you can reach out to different attorneys to see who their contacts are. If you want to engage us personally, what we do is we ask that you call, and we'll schedule a consultation for you. We'll give you the option of doing it either via video or over the phone. And once we get all of the information, then we can do all of the paperwork. Some of the rules have been relaxed with respect to notarizing documents. So now you have the option of getting some of the documents notarized remotely, which makes it easier. So we can file all of your documents, all of your paperwork online without you having to leave the comfort of your home. You do kind of have to be roommates with your spouse during that process, so that becomes a little bit of a challenge. And obviously, it may take a little bit longer only because the court system's a little bit backed up, but you can still get the help that you need.
Well, if I had my soon-to-be ex-spouse, in the other room watching Netflix, how could I communicate with you privately with them in the house?
Well, the wonderful part of our remote access is that if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, when we send you the link, you can do the video either on your phone, if you know how you're allowed to take a walk or go outside, or be in your room if you're in separate rooms. You can just plug your headphones in and call via an iPhone or other type of cell phone.
So, and what's the email address that people can reach out to you at?
The email address is info, at, and it's our last name, Segara, lawfirm.com.
And what are you charging people for the consultation?
So if they mention Spencer Aronfeld, we give people free consultations. So that's a courtesy that we offer them. Depending upon the case, it'll run about $150, $200 for the initial consultation. What's great about these consultations is that when you leave, you actually have a game plan or a plan of action as to if you have issues of child support, what that is, visitation, time sharing schedule, alimony, and things of that nature. We like to take our time during consultations and provide you information about all the different issues.
Are you able to handle cases outside of South Florida now?
Yes, we're licensed to practice throughout the state of Florida. So we have handled cases in we have a case in Henry County, Collier County. We have cases up all the way up through Orange County. We had a case up in Leon County, which is Tallahassee. So depending upon the situation, we'll handle cases outside of South Florida. We usually engage local counsel if we do that. But a lot of times they've heard of our reputation for how we've handled the cases, and they want us to kind of represent them from different parts of it. Oh, I see your cat. Awesome.
Yeah, that's the musical director of the podcast. Hey, Manny, I think it's fantastic, the services you're providing, but could you take a few minutes and tell people a little bit about your background and your training? Because I think what you bring to the table as a family law lawyer is unique, and the perspective that you have and the way you handle cases is different than most lawyers.
Sure, I'd love to talk about it. I would be remiss if I didn't first talk about my upbringing. Originally from Chicago, I was raised by a single mom and an older sister, and I think that's huge because I think I can relate very well to, number one, all the single parents who are having issues, what happens and what that entails afterwards. I have a degree in psychology, a degree in political science, and a minor in Spanish literature, which means that I'm completely fluent in Spanish in terms of reading, writing, communicating, and I'd say about 20%, 30% of our caseload is Spanish-speaking, native Spanish-speaking peoples. Then I went to law school at the University of Illinois, did moot court, graduated there in 2000. So this is my 20th year of practicing law, which is, it's crazy how time goes by, my friend.
Listen, I'm coming on my 30th year, so I completely relate to it.
But you look younger than I do. You got to tell me what the secret is.
It's the lighting. But do you remember when we were young lawyers and you'd hear somebody said they were doing this for 20 years or 30 years, you would think they were elder?
Insane.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first 8 years that I practiced, I was a prosecutor with the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, which was a fabulous job. I was honored to be able to serve the public on a daily basis. Those are the kind of jobs that you actually have a daily impact on the community. I was the division chief. I was mostly in the domestic crimes unit. So my job was to prosecute violent domestic violence crimes like homicide, attempted homicide, sexual battery, arson, things of that nature. I was also a division chief. So I had a division of prosecutors, which I directly supervised. There's about between 10 and 15 at a time, which was great. It gave me that experience of being able to mold and train younger lawyers, which is challenging because, we all know everything. And it taught me a lot of patience. And it was great. So in 2008, I decided it was time to start our own law firm. And I brought that litigation experience that I had with the state attorney's office, all of those criminal jury trials, all of that training, all of that administrative training. And we opened up our firm to practice exclusively in family law. And I think it's important that when people consider engaging somebody during their divorce process, an attorney, that they pick someone who is dedicated exclusively to that area. because it's not an area you can dabble in, because it's a little bit complicated in terms of the breadth of the different topics that have to be covered. So that's my experience. I think that it has taught me a lot, especially the governmental service, and especially dealing in family court, because every day, all we do is practice in front of the judges in South Florida and Miami-Dade who handle these cases exclusively. And we're there every day. So we know their idiosyncrasies. We know how they like the cases to be presented, which I think is also a huge advantage. And the other thing that's great is that they recently put me on a committee with some of the judges and general magistrates to kind of streamline the emergency procedure process. So I guess it's, you know, a decade or over a decade, almost 2 decades of working in this area has benefited our firm a lot.
Yeah, and I've had the privilege of watching you in action, Manny, how you are able to console a spouse who's in a very troubled marriage with issues with their children and concerns about finances and concerns about that spouse's own safety, about how she is going to be able to extricate herself from this marriage without becoming, you know, a victim of violence. I mean, I'm really impressed with how you do things. And I can tell you that having spoken to clients that I've referred to you, they all come back and thank me. They all tell me, you know, how pleased they were with your ability to get them through such a difficult experience. So
I appreciate that, my friend. You know, I love the fact that I've gained your trust, and it means a lot to know that your clients feel that way. It's important to me, and it's important to our firm to make sure that we are responsive to our clients, because family law is an emotional issue.
Yeah.
And it's also important to us to be responsive to our referral partners. We want to make sure that you look good, and we want to make sure that people who refer us cases, oftentimes friends and colleagues and families who are dealing with these issues, that we're responsive to that, and that we, you know, we're aware of how they're feeling in these situations.
Well, I think you're the best, and I want to thank you for taking the time out, because you're busy. You're busier than most lawyers right now to be on our podcast. Manny Segara, you're going to have the contact information and everything. He says, don't ask me, Dad. I'm going to put it in there, but you'll have the contact information. How to get divorced during the coronavirus.
Yes, definitely. Don't put it on hold. We can still help you during this crisis, and we'll help you in a very conscientious and private way. So there's no need to be afraid, and there's no need to be afraid or hesitant to reach out. We'll help you.
Thank you, Manny. You know, Nory, we've got one more guest this week on the Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer podcast, Milena Baker, who's also going to be talking about she's an international human rights lawyer from Brazil. She's going to be talking about the increase in domestic violence internationally as a result of this.
Yes,
go ahead.
There's been a big increase in that, and you know, it'd be great if she also spoke about the human trafficking issues, which I'm sure she knows about as well. But those are great topics for you guys to cover, and it's really great that you're doing it for the community.
Well, awesome. So, Nory, that's going to be tomorrow with Milena Baker, Milena Gordon Baker, international human rights advocate and lawyer from Sao Paulo, Brazil. We thank you, Manny Segara. We love you. Be safe during this time.
Thank you. It's great seeing you guys.
You too, my friend. God bless.
Be safe. You too. Bye.